because that's where we get our minutes from. So, Alcidic is taping the meeting, and Lynn, from Freetown is also taping the meeting. Did anybody get a copy of the minutes? Did everybody read them? Yeah,
Oh, I did.
Yeah.
okay. Did you get them?
I probably did, but I didn't get my email today.
Okay. Do you wanna, we'll hold off on them, just to make sure then. We're fine. So, I'll just, I know that this was a Thursday meeting at 5 o'clock, a little odd for everybody, but what is everybody comfortable with for meetings? Tuesdays, Wednesdays, or Thursdays?
So I'm gonna try with me.
I know, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So just do when we can?
I do my best to work around
Okay.
what you guys do.
Yep.
But- All right. That's fine. So we're all good then, whenever you guys wanna. I guess we can work around your schedules.
Yeah, we wanted to kind of set a day of the week. I think you guys probably do too, that, so we can fit it into our
Yeah, so-
schedules.
For everyone's benefit. yeah,
Whatever
be
works best for you
consistent.
guys, we'll hash it out and then just let us know.
Okay.
Does the time work at 5, or
About
is that?
Saturday, 6 o'clock in the morning. We can be there.
I'm fine with that.
I think 5 might be a little early for people.
Yeah,
No,
the only reason why I was late is because I had a water commission meeting at 3:30 and we just got done.
oh gosh. I mean, 5's fine for me, but I think.
It's okay for
Well,
me.
Robbie,
Five is
during the
fine.
summer, he should be fine. And I don't know about Mary, so yeah, that works.
All right, okay.
Let's talk about the process, whether it's project meetings or committee meetings. Because there's going to be a lot of project meetings, and what we normally see is briefings or summaries to the committee. Does the committee want to be part of all of the project meetings as well? Or would you be looking for updates with just a few members attending the project meetings?
I'll be more than likely attend the project meetings.
Okay.
But I think that if you make them open, whoever wants to go can go, and whoever doesn't really need to.
Because a lot of times there'll be working sessions that, you may want to do during the day.
Yeah, I would imagine
Which
that
is fine.
all of them take place during the day.
Yeah, okay. So we can, if it's okay with you, we can set our project meetings. I'd like to see our project meetings set out all the way through December.
Yeah, if we can do that. yeah,
And
sure.
then, if we don't have to have a meeting, we just cancel it. But we can set it for the duration. And then we could work to see when you would like to have committee meetings for updates.
Well, I believe that the committee wants to be updated, at least in the beginning. It depends on what your project meetings are. So, I mean, if they're far and few between, then no, we don't need to meet for no reason at all. But I feel like if your project meetings are going rapidly and you're having a meeting every week, I would think that we will want to know, we will want to be updated.
Okay.
Not every week, but maybe every other week, or maybe,
So we really haven't had an opportunity to discuss it, but we traditionally look at mapping out meetings twice a month, project meetings.
Project meetings, that
and-
makes sense,
and
because you
then-
need time to produce.
Yeah. In no sense to meet, just to meet.
Exactly.
So, and our typical project would have a monthly committee meeting, so we would have 2 project meetings and 1 committee meeting. In many cases, we don't ask the designer to come unless they want to, because they're busy working. We can provide the update, so we can leave that open for that. But if we could schedule, twice monthly meetings, project meetings, and then once a month committee meetings, updates, that seems to be pretty productive. Anything more than that, and we may have interim meetings or conference calls to discuss elements, but anything more than that, I think is probably overkill.
right, but while the building is being constructed and things like that, I think that the committee would want to have more meetings than not. I don't think that any of us want to be left in the dark at any point. That's how I feel.
The intention wouldn't be to leave anybody in the dark.
No, I don't think it's
Yeah.
intended that way, but,
When you have a project meeting, are you gonna open it up for, like, any committee member, if they choose to go, they
yeah,
can go?
that's what I want.
That's your decision.
That's what I said.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, that's what I
yeah,
said.
All right.
And a lot of these meetings initially, like we had a meeting yesterday with the
Mhm.
chief, it was like the beginning step of getting information and programming, and it's more like data gathering right now. We
Right.
need to do the same thing on the site, But as we start to develop like bubble diagrams and concepts and stuff, obviously, we need to work out a lot of the adjacencies with the chief and others, and then bring it to the committee to get their input in as well. So I think it's more of a process that.
Yep.
And then, we'll do our best to try to be consistent with the every other week or every month, but depending on the stage of where the design is, we may need to, like you said, maybe an interim meeting or something. If we need input, we need some feedback and direction. let's say.
Right.
I guess ultimately, the department, the designer and the OPM don't have any rights of approval. So, it's always going to, the results are always going to have to be submitted to the committee, and the committee's going to have to approve it, concept all the way through the process.
Right.
In different phases, it's the committee's vote. It's not the departments or ours or the designers. So.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, as it relates to the department, it's primarily focused on program, making sure that all the elements are there, they're in the right place, things like that. All the adjacencies are working together, all the relationships are working together, but all concepts would obviously have to come through the committee. That's the way we see it. That's probably how you guys see it too.
Correct, yeah. So we can work to set our project meetings, like yesterday, but that was a project meeting. So, and then, I was thinking for our committee meetings, probably Tuesdays or Thursdays.
Okay.
So if both those days kind of work for the committee, we'll speak with CGA and kind of nail down 2 times a month that, that could happen.
I can tell you first Tuesday and the second Tuesday of every month I have meetings.
So Thursday's better for you?
Yeah.
Thursday's
Okay.
better for you, okay. I think Thursday was actually the better day for us as well.
Okay,
Same
perfect.
here.
It
You're talking
is.
about for committee meetings?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so
Thursdays?
let's
Yeah.
just do
Let's do
Thursdays.
Thursday.
Works pretty well for us.
Do we want to move it to 5:30? Give a little more room, or is 5 fine?
Doesn't matter to me.
5 is fine.
5 o'clock? Great. And again, we can kind of lay it out for each month, and if we need to meet an extra time, we will, to give an update as to, where we are, depending on how our project meetings go. So, and then when we get into construction, early on, we'll probably be meeting weekly, construction meeting, and those are open for the committee to attend. And then we might move to, twice monthly. Again, those are open as well, so that gives the committee an opportunity to be at really all of our meetings.
Okay.
Plus an update to the committee, monthly during construction, so.
Perfect. All right.
And just under that same guideline, I assume everybody on the committee is okay with CGA, meeting with the department, to go over things operational-wise and speak to the department, kind of learn, it's just, the committee doesn't need to be there for every meeting that they have with the department.
No, like I said, I wanted to stop by yesterday, but it's almost camp time, so it's a little crazy for me. But I did get some feedback from Carlton today.
Okay.
So there were questions, I guess, that were raised about the community room and things like that. So I think that the committee would want to have some feedback with that.
Yeah, I think it was a very good working session, and it did kind of puff out some things that, the chief was thinking about and the department as well. As a whole, he had some notes that you guys took and cushioned it that we started to look at. So CGA has those, and as the schematic design evolves, we can also talk about those areas a bit more. So I think it was a very productive day, and boy, you guys packed in there.
Oh, boy, yeah. Right.
We got the nice tour.
That's
So
Oh, you
our first time
did?
there.
going through the whole thing, yeah.
Yeah,
The locker room is the most impressive, actually.
Yeah.
it's great. You like the closet in the corner?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's-
the shower closet.
You mean a shower?
Yeah, the water closet. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
The urinal 4 feet from the locker was a great. Anybody who's got that locker, I feel bad for them.
We had issues with one of the guys. The toilet overflowed and it got into the base of somebody's locker. And the guy who it happened to isn't a particularly happy guy a lot of times. It was a night. It was a whole thing. It was awful. But like, I mean, you guys walking around his locker, they get the carpet around it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
nasty.
it was really bad. I felt bad for him. It was a really bad situation, but it's kind of like it's just a good example of the things that go on in there.
But we're all giggling about it, so.
Yeah, no, we are now. We are now.
All right, and next I wanted to, kick it off to Dan and Andy. We're very excited to be working with you guys. The town is as well. If you guys could just give us an idea of, your process moving forward from here, and we can talk about your schedule.
Sure.
Go forward from there. I thought it was a good idea to just kind of update where you are and kind of where you're heading.
All right, great. Well, thank you, everyone, for selecting us. We're excited to move forward with this project as well, which is why we wanted to, we knew we were losing a couple of weeks just kind of working out a few kinks in the fee schedule and fee proposal and stuff like that. But we wanted to be able to come tonight and say, all right, we've already had a meeting, we've already begun the process of gathering information, getting a better understanding of the mission of the department. So the process that we see, and we did lay out a schedule on page 2, I guess it is.
Yeah, under 6.
So we had anticipated that the initial piece of this is focused primarily on programming, site assessment, and beginning stages of looking at how things are going to shape up in terms of a program, how that relates to what we call a bubble diagram. So it's more like a plan that it's not a building, it's not a design, it's just showing how the relationships work between various departments and how they have to work together, and the separation between the public and the private and things of that nature. So all of that gets worked on in a very high level, loose, diagrammatic way, which then once that gets worked out and gets reconfirmed by the department, then you'll start to see some shape to the form itself, and then we begin to see how it all fits on site. So that works in conjunction with the site assessment, which is why I do appreciate you sending, or Lisa, you sent that email. Someone sent out an email to Kelly Engineering, because we do need that information on the topo. Like, we have the boundaries, but we need the topography. That's very key to us being able to understand the site and lay it out. And I know in your report here, Taylor, you also indicated like geotech and things like that.
Yeah.
In terms of when we need to begin talking about doing perk tests and locating certain things. But for initially, that's the process that we're going to take. And Andy, I don't know if you want to talk more about how you see the design process evolving before we get into schematics. This is like the first 4 weeks of just developing ideas and getting feedback.
Right, so the first step, like Dan said, is working out the program. And then you take the program and lay it out on the site. I've spent some time on the site with the tools I do have before we have the topo, and it looks like we're going to have a 20-foot grade differential within our building area. So a big thing we're going to have to nail down very quickly is 1 or 2 stories, and grade is going to play a big role in that. So I've already started with the tools that I have before the survey comes in. Of course, I can't go too far without that. But we do have a good 20 feet to deal with on the site. So I'm looking forward to getting that topo. Like Dan said, we're working on a bubble diagram right now with the information we got from the chief yesterday. And that will do a few things. It will show adjacencies, what rooms will be next to each other, and kind of like the placement in the plan. And we typically draw it to scale too, so you can start to get a feel for one bubble is larger than the other and how those spaces might come together. But the levels in this project are very important. So that's our next big step, is to get that topo, start working on the 2 levels. I have a lot of ideas either way, but we need that topo to get going, and we'll have to decide if we, even if you do want a 2-level separation, because now, when you separate someone by a level, such as the chief from other aspects, the building behaves in a whole different way. So that's going to be a big decision we have to make right away, and we're on it. And as soon as we get that topo, we'll be way ahead of the game from what I can do with what I've got. Just going out to the site and the tools I can have to shoot some grades to know what I'm up against. But grade's going to play a big role.
So before, I'm sorry.
Can you help out with that, Lisa, a
Yep.
little bit? I'm sure I missed one or two, but I know that Andy mentioned topo at least 6 times. So
I mentioned it a couple.
that's how important it is
It is.
Yep.
for this process, because, and quite frankly, you know, I think I've spoken with his office 3 or 4 times and never had an opportunity to speak with Dave. So, and I'm sure that he's just a very busy man. But if you maybe can push from your side,
Yep,
that
I'll
would be
call him
helpful.
first thing in the morning.
Thanks.
So the other piece is that while we're here, we'd like to hear from you, like in terms of what some of the ideas that you have in this process as well, you know, from anything that's on your mind from what you're thinking about as we move forward. Because right now we're collecting data and gathering information. If there's anything that we need to know more about, what your expectations are, and you know, where you'd like to see us go.
I think that we really need to, from my perspective
Concerns.
anyway, need to make sure that, right now it's well, but who knows what's gonna happen in the future, so I think that we need to make sure that we have lines for both sewer and water. Who's to say if it's in 5 years, or 3, or if we get a grant too, like, I have no idea, but to have those in the ground already is probably, would help, because I think the school would work off of that as well. So that's one thing. Also, Carlton and I were talking on the phone today about, you know, we weren't sure about the administrative assistant, and Debbie right now does,
Seems like everything.
dispatch.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I said, you know what, it wouldn't hurt to even put in an extra office somewhere, so then that way, if we do go with just an administrative assistant and a Debbie, we have 2 places for them. If we don't have 2 places for them, then we're only stuck with 1 area, so it might be smart to just actually have another office. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be nice.
Question.
Sure.
When you talk 2 levels, that's not counting the basement, correct?
That would,
That is the basement.
That is
yeah,
the basement.
That's including the basement, yeah. So not, it's not a 2-story structure, but it's on a 2-level station as opposed to 1 level, like all
Okay.
all 3.
so your building would appear 1 story
But it
on
would
on
be
the high
2 level,
side,
okay.
and 2
And the
stories.
basement would be functional.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be a storage basement, it would be,
Okay.
it would be a functional
So it's gonna be a functional
Yeah.
basement, okay.
And you would locate program spaces that wouldn't necessarily need natural light
Yeah.
on that
Down
back
there,
wall
okay.
that goes into the bank.
Okay.
There are other options, though. We do not have to do that.
No, I didn't wanna lose the basement part of it.
Yeah.
You know, I thought it was gonna be, when you said 2 levels, I'm thinking, well, they're gonna be a basement and then 2 levels.
So do you have some ideas about what you might want to put in a basement utility-wise?
I just didn't wanna lose the space. That's, because here, the old police station was supposed to have a basement. And because of budget cuts,
Went
it
to a
didn't
slum.
happen, so.
We're supposed to have a 2nd floor, too.
Probably lucky we don't, when I
I
caved in
think
on
so,
itself, but.
by now.
So as far as the other, you know, items that, you know, I had in here for the site, geotech and perk, you know, there's really, I guess, nothing holding us back to start the geotech. You know, it's probably, once we have the survey, you know, it's something we could start.
I mean, there's a couple of ways to approach geotech. Like, we could do some preliminary borings out there just to kind of see what's going on before we actually place the building.
Yeah, I know we have to have the building
Or we
placed.
should have an idea of where we're placing the building.
Yeah.
What we'd also like to do is, if we're doing a test pit out there, coordinate that to do the perk test at the same time. So that way we can, you know, if you have equipment out there, we can try to coordinate it.
Yeah, I'm not,
Save a little bit of money.
yeah, I'm not saying now, but I think once we have an idea of where
Yes.
the building's going,
Yeah.
then we could start getting those quotes, you know, right away. It's just something to be thinking about, that's why I
Sure.
had it in here, so.
Yeah, no, it's good, yeah. And we did include geotech as an ad service.
Correct.
Like, we identified it, we actually contacted a geotech engineer.
Okay, good.
A firm that we'd like to work with, so.
Who'd you talk to?
Majid. Have you worked with Majid?
Oh, who hasn't?
Well, he's a great geotech, so
Well, he
that's good.
is, and I've worked with him probably going on almost 20 years on various projects, so, and I'm sure Andy is as well, so, there's a few
Worked
out
with
there.
them today?
Oh, I'm sorry?
Yeah, I
Oh, you're
worked
with
with
him
him
today, yeah, so, so we trust his judgment and his ability, so we'd like to work with him, when we get there.
And I don't know if the committee is abreast of your change in civil
Right.
Do you want to discuss that?
Sure. So when we submitted our proposal, we had Power Engineering as our civil engineer. We couldn't really come to terms on contracts between CJA and them. And we, so we contacted GGD, who is providing all the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, security, everything. But they also do civil engineering, so we asked them to provide us with a fee proposal, and we were able to work it out with them. So I just wanted to make sure that you were comfortable with us making a change in a team member, someone on our team. But we feel that this is actually just going to be an added benefit to the project, because now everything's going to fall under Garcia, Gillespie, D'Souza. So a lot of the coordination that takes place between the civil and plumbing and all the utilities that have to tie in with it, we think it's a good move. So as long as you're comfortable with it, we'd like to proceed with them. We haven't signed anything yet, so we haven't signed any of our sub-consultants yet, but we have all their proposals.
Okay.
We've worked with them 100 times, so we're very comfortable with them. And Dan came to us before they made the move too, or they haven't made it in writing yet, but we said the same thing, that we're very comfortable with GGD. We're working with them on a few projects now. We've worked with them in the past, so we have the utmost confidence in them. So,
I mean, this happens sometimes. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
we just couldn't work it out with the earlier engineer.
Do you want to keep going
Yeah.
with concerns and ideas and things? Or are we done with that?
Oh, you guys are good with that, right?
What, the engineering
yes.
change? Yeah,
Okay.
that's fine.
Okay. Was there anything else the committee wanted to say in terms of Dan's question or Andy's question in terms of
Yeah.
input on the building?
Yeah, any
Yeah.
concerns or any other?
Busing, because you're near the elementary school, so I'm worried about the buses coming in and out and the ones going down that Memorial Drive. That might play into something, I don't know what, but it's something to make sure that we pay attention to, because
So
you're gonna have a line of
bus
buses
traffic.
coming out, yeah. I don't think it needs a traffic study, but I just
No.
think that you need to be aware
Be
that
aware of
at
it, yeah.
3:15 and 9:15 in the morning, it's gonna be kind of crazy over there, so.
Yeah, and being a corner lot, we have some options.
All right.
I think if we're gonna address that, we probably ought to look at business-wise, as far as our business, emergency vehicles in and out onto Chase Road. And that would solve most of that problem.
Rather than Memorial.
Rather than Memorial Drive, and more having a public entrance on Memorial Drive. And then we're gonna have to, if we wind up with the community room that we're talking about, we're gonna have to address parking a little bit better than it's been done in the site plan the concepts that we've seen so far. 'Cause-
Yeah, my initial reaction to the site would be to open up to Memorial to the public
Right,
and then do business on Chase.
okay. We can live with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's what you kind of just started when I think you're talking about a community room that seats 40 people. You're gonna have to come up with some sort of parking that's actually legitimate. A lot of things, like when people are spitballing here, they throw out like these 11 lots, spots, whatever. Like it's not even close to what we're gonna need, and there's nothing that's really available in the area if you're gonna be on that corner anyway. So parking on the exterior would be a huge deal if you're gonna have that type of room.
And really, what type of room are we talking about? Like, are we talking 40 seats, or are we talking larger than that? Like,
The-
that's like a,
The chief mentioned yesterday that the Board of Selectmen would be looking to use the room. So, if that's the case, I don't know how many people usually attend those meetings. We threw around the number 40 yesterday to meet the training requirements, so the town can get, the kickback and also get the free training. So, that's something we kind of need to nail down as to what the town's really, it sounded like there was going to be a lot of use in this room, and that maybe 40 wasn't maybe 40 was low.
I address that a little bit from, I'm the DT firearms and defensive tactics instructor for the department. I also teach for the council. And we've been teaching this year in the Cushing over at their academy. And they ran the academy out of there, and it's a little bit small at 40 for a good-sized class. If we're thinking
And they're
about
a
doing
tight
that.
40 too.
And it's a very tight
Yeah.
40.
Yeah.
Having taught there and having to break the room down to make it, to do other things, any of the practical stuff, we may want that somewhat larger if we can do it and afford it. Also, it would
I was gonna
open
say-
us up to
I was gonna say 60.
60 would be, I was thinking that number
Yeah.
also.
And Michael McEwen said too, yesterday, that he's heard rumblings that the training requirement's gonna go from 40 to 50.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
so.
heard that also.
Would you like us to focus at 60 for the time being and see what it looks like?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would even go
at this
75, and
stage,
if we had to cut it back, then cut it back.
Well, that's,
can always
that's
go
okay.
down.
Yeah.
So we need to catch up.
What do you think at 75, and if we have to cut, we can
That's-
cut it there?
That's fine for me.
If we did 75 and then had to cut, what? Is that a big space?
No, that's fine. Yeah, well, it is, but
I mean, we could do that, but,
Yeah.
right.
Why are you laughing at me?
Well, because it went from 40 to 75. That's all. I was
Oh,
like,
it's never
almost
gonna be
double.
40.
That like-
It
that
was never gonna be
that was
40.
never- All right, yeah.
No, it's
Okay.
just, it doesn't make sense. I mean, sometimes we cram them in here, you know,
Well, it's being used
sometimes no
for
one
other
comes, and then
purposes,
other
right.
times we have,
It's community space.
yeah.
That's
It's getting
certainly,
a lot of use.
I was
Yeah,
just throwing out a
the
random
fact-
number.
the fact that it gets a lot of use, just that alone helps, you know, CGA, helps their design of the exterior and the way parking works, because obviously we don't want to impede any operational needs of the police department, so it's a good thing that it is being used extensively, and they know that, so.
So we can take a look at that, you know, as the bubble diagrams begin to evolve. And
Right.
I mean, because right now we're, just with the preliminary program, we're hovering around 15,000 square feet. So obviously this is going to add to that. And the extra administration space will also add to that as well. So then once you start looking at budgets, you may.
Right, then we may cut it back
Right,
down to 40.
exactly.
Well, I don't think we should go that low.
No, I'm kidding.
That 15 is gross
That's right.
with a
Well, if worse
40%.
comes to worse, we can just pitch a tent.
All right, so we'll
inside
plan for
and
75.
change
That's fine.
Yeah, I say,
Put a couple basketball hoops in there and we
Yeah.
good.
it. No. That's the other room we're gonna have.
yeah, but maybe you wouldn't have to break down the room all the way.
That would be nice.
You know what I mean?
we
If you only had
could,
to do
exactly.
half of the room, then,
Sure,
yeah.
exactly.
Well, it is an opportunity, you know, like for the town.
Mhm.
So, all right.
I had a question, Lisa, on the water and sewer. So is there any rumblings now to, you know, get that site hooked up to water and sewer?
There's always rumblings about water, not so much sewer, about water.
Yeah,
The school has not great water, so there's been talk about going down Chase or Chipaway, because there's a connection on both sides.
yeah.
So, but it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So it all depends on what the town wants to do. But I wouldn't want to have that all done and then all of a sudden decide we have to put in sewer line or a water line, you know what I mean? Like, so I'd rather just have it in now. Just like the Elm Street Bridge, it's in the Elm Street Bridge. We don't know when we're gonna get it over there, but
Yeah.
it's there.
Okay.
So,
So when you say in now, meaning like you want to be prepared to be able to tie in.
yes.
So we just have to plan for
Right.
future tie-ins to Chase.
Mhm.
Chase
Well, I think it would probably come up Chipaway.
Chipaway.
Road And up Bullock.
Road.
But it'd go to Memorial.
Yeah, we'd have.
It'd have to come down and go to Memorial, yeah.
Could we cut across the school property?
Well, if you put a water line in, you want it to go
Yeah,
down, you
down
want
the
it to go
street.
down the streets because then you can apply the betterment issue.
Not a lot of homes over there, but there are some. You have that development over
Oh,
there,
yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
And that 54
Mm.
home
Mm.
development that's going in too. So it may happen.
Okay. But it's not something we should probably plan on putting in the project completely at this point.
Just the hookups.
Just
Just
the
the-
hookups.
Just the hookup.
Yeah,
To switch over.
yeah.
All right.
So for the septic system, that's been included in our scope of services by the civil engineer to explore locating a septic system, leaching fields, things of that nature. With the water, you know, that was an area that we really weren't sure what was going to be involved in that. So whether or not we would be able to just tie into something, or if there was going to be extensive well exploration, you know, so
You're gonna have to have a
work
well.
associated with that.
Yeah, we
So
have to
that
have a
was
well,
kinda
You have to have a
separated.
well, because there's no, I mean,
But I'm
Okay.
wondering, can you use the well of the school
It's
too?
not an option.
Well, that was the other thing, it's like, we didn't know if that was an option.
It probably is an option
you know,
because,
Depending on where it is. and-
Well, yeah, because that would already meet public water supply standards.
Exactly.
So you
Right.
should be able to tie right into it.
and the well was designed for the addition, so, I mean, that's all there.
Do they just have one well out there, or are there two wells?
I want to say they have two, but I'm not
Yeah,
really
that's
sure.
what I thought, too,
Mhm.
when they did the
The
addition.
plans for the elementary school are at Town Hall. You don't have them, right?
No.
No, they're at Town Hall.
All right, so we could maybe.
So you
go
can,
there
when
and
you
take a
go to
look
pick
at
up the
'em.
contract on Tuesday, you can probably pick them up from there.
All right, great.
Where does the current police station pull water from?
We have our own,
You have your own well.
We share with this place.
with
don't
this
we?
place, yeah, it's shared with this place, yeah.
A lot of water?
No.
You know how deep it is?
No, I don't have top of my head.
This is a pretty high area. This is a pretty high area because some people on Bullock Road, their wells are about 300 feet
Oh,
down.
yeah?
When was that elementary
And
school?
nearby here, nearby.
Built?
Yeah.
Originally, or they've had three?
Three additions.
Was the well installed recently, do you know, or?
I think when we did the addition, we looked at the well.
Okay. So, do you have someone that maintains that?
Bob Souza, I would imagine, is the facilities manager
Okay.
over there.
Maybe we can check with him, because that may be more valuable than the school plans, because we'd really like to know what capacity that well is at. And my guess is the school plans don't identify that, so there may be some engineering reports specifically to the well.
I'll have to try to find those too.
So Bob Souza, that's right, he's the facilities director.
Yeah,
so-
for everything.
Good, good.
And you probably also have a pump and tank contractor who knows a
Right.
lot about that well. You
Yeah.
can talk to him.
All right, well, that's a key thing. If we can tie into that, then you're not
Right.
spending an awful lot of money drilling for your own well out there.
And septic too, I would imagine.
Well, you'd have to pump it up there, I guess, right? Because we'd be in a much lower elevation, which is possible,
True. Yeah.
but it may not be sized
Yeah,
for
I
it.
can't imagine it would be sized
Right.
to accommodate 15,000 square feet or.
If your water table and soils are okay, septic will not be a
It's not
big
big,
issue for this
okay.
building. The flow is not.
That's another reason why we need to
Big.
do some geotech
All
out
right.
there, because don't really know what the soil's
No.
like out there at all.
So walking through it, you know, there is some big bones out there, but, you know, hopefully the soil is,
It's sandy.
yeah.
Yeah, you think so?
Yeah.
I know, I thought Bob had a few concerns out there with a layer or something, but I'll have to look at that. Yeah,
Anybody
that's
else
good.
have
Thanks for
anything?
bringing that up.
Good right now.
Okay.
Plenty of
So-
time to,
One thing that came up in the meeting with the chief was the idea of an outbuilding for storage. He mentioned things like poke machines, bulky items, snowmobiles, things that they have to take into custody, and some other things. So it's not so much, planning for that building, but more that it will take from the program. So I don't know if you people ever had that idea or thought that we definitely would pursue this, but that'd be a pretty big, we're thinking somewhere along the lines of 20 by 20.
Like a garage?
Yeah.
Sounded like a-
Metal.
Or a pre-engineered metal
Yeah,
building.
pre-engineered metal building.
Oh,
He brought us into his trailers and showed us some of the things that they have to keep.
Yeah.
When they take in evidence and property, they have to store it for a certain amount of time, and things like that.
Yeah, we'll definitely like some of those, snow blowers and things like that, that just, they take up a ton of space, you can't really put them in the building anywhere. And, yeah, so we use that a lot, for that type of stuff, so. And I understand it takes away from some ways, but it is something that we really need to consider.
Yeah, and they have a garage on site now, small.
It's.
Yeah.
It's like a
It's also
an
packed
outhouse,
full.
Yeah.
Yes, it is packed full.
There's
I'd like to
two
move.
There was-
containers, right?
there was-
Can we
Two
just use
containers.
them
Yeah,
we
two
have now?
Two
connexes.
large containers.
Yeah.
And we have
Very
an-
small.
another old
It's like a
Connex
one-car
at the
garage.
highway department too.
it has bikes in it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
bikes and car parts and
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff.
Great stuff.
So we'd have to plan for the storage of these things no matter what.
Yeah,
It would
on
just-
site.
It would just be a matter of whether or not it was a standalone structure.
We see it as a pretty popular approach because if you were to, some of the storage you couldn't store in the building, but a lot of it you could. And your building is going to cost more than a pre-engineered metal building, meaning your main building is going to cost more than your pre-engineered metal building.
Per square foot.
So you literally can eliminate some of your storage requirements in your expensive building and defer them to your less expensive building. You may think it's a premium, but in reality, you're saving money.
Well, I think that's what we were thinking. I was talking to the chief about that, and it's like, you know, everything that's inside the structure itself is prime real estate, so we don't really want to give it up to large, you know, large item
Bulky
storage,
things
stuff like that, yeah.
It's a pretty popular move these days.
Yeah.
You know, most municipalities are going that route, so.
Yeah, especially if you don't have to provide too many utilities out there, you know, lights and maybe heat,
Yeah.
and that's
Right.
it. You know,
No fire
you're not-
protection.
Yeah, you're not spending a lot on infrastructure there, so.
Okay.
So the next step really would be adjacencies in the program. We could make some space diagrams.
Yeah.
And the question would be, you know, how and when we present those, or if we circulate them to them before the meeting, let them think.
Yeah, I was just gonna jump in on that. As far as approvals, I assume you want probably an approval or a vote from the committee before you move on to each next step. So, would the adjacency diagram be something you'd be looking on approval for before you move to the programming? Or would, you know, programming be its one whole set?
I think they're together, but.
Well, more just input.
Yeah.
I think that, you know, we're already working on the program, and the chief gave us a list of things he'd like to see based on his experiences. So we have a starting point. We get something very simple on paper for you to look at and react to, but more than just in a list form, like, you know, like you said, the bubble diagrams, so you can see how they interact. And I think that, let us get that together, and I think just maybe have more of an informal meeting and get some input, some feedback on it.
Okay.
It's more operational feedback that you're
Yeah.
looking for than anything else.
Yeah. Right.
So, yeah, I kind of envision that as a working session, one or two, and then you finally have what you consider a schematic solution.
Concept, yeah, conceptual solution.
And then that goes in front of the committee. I'm never a huge advocate of throwing dollar signs at things, but I think it's always pretty good when you start talking about if you're at 15,000 square feet or 17,000 square feet, perhaps we can give you some ideas as to what other projects are costing in that range. Not that this project's going to cost, but give you an idea so you can start thinking about not only building massing, but dollar massing.
Okay.
So I guess we could,
Supply committee.
if I'm looking at your schedule here, then, as far as, you know, it seems like we'll have a couple programming meetings in between now and July 7th. So if we're looking at the first part of July, we'd be looking at a final review of our schematic, really plan and programming.
Yeah, that would make sense. So, you know, we may,
Or programming, really, not just schematic.
Not schematic.
yeah,
Yeah.
programming.
Yeah.
We may end up having almost like weekly programming meetings for right now, just to kind of push things along and get feedback, and, you know, we'll see how we're doing. But it'd be good to move it along and then have a building committee meeting the first or second week of July, I guess, right?
Yep.
You know, first week of July is tough.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah, we got fireworks, we got parades. and
Yeah,
all
you
sorts
guys
of
are all
stuff. We're gonna be a
tired.
little busy.
yeah. So like I said, once, you know, tomorrow I'll sit down, look at the calendar, and, you know,
Let's
we
put
can
up like
talk.
a work plan together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just put it up right on the calendar so we know those dates that we're meeting, and just pencil them right in.
Okay.
Are you gonna get that out to the whole committee?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Anything else on just input at this point? I just wanted to talk a little bit about our third-party consultants, because this is something we like to start early. As far as your radio vendors, phone vendors, furniture, security. I'll start talking to the department about these because we want to make sure they're getting incorporated into the design. We have all the provisions there. They really don't become too critical until you get into design development. But it's nice to start making connections now. We can start getting some pricing, early pricing, on some items too, ballpark, that'll help us, build our budget moving forward. So, radios, security, phones, equipment, talked about that. Third-party radio consultant. I put this on here because we were looking at the tower yesterday, and it looks like if we move to the other location, that tower probably can't go with the station. It looks like it's pretty old, and I don't know if it can be moved. So a propagation study probably has to be done. I know the chief said that there's been some issues with radios in the coverage in the town.
Don't get me going.
So it's something that we can get some pricing on for a consultant to come in and do that. I don't know if you guys have used anybody or have any ideas for that, but it sounds like it's a good idea in this case to at least get some pricing on what that might cost. And they can do a complete study of the town, what the radio coverage is, what types of radios, what we would need for upgrades, tower, the whole kit and caboodle.
Okay,
So we can start working on that as well.
all
Yeah,
right.
there's definitely a few consultants out there that
Yeah,
work
we've
years
been
ago.
using Langone lately,
Yeah.
Chick Langone.
Yep.
But the problem that you run into, as Taylor mentioned, you need to make sure that you've got your coverage set and your tower height correct. But also, I'm assuming you're replacing all of your radio equipment with the new facility or dispatch. I don't know how old your material is and hasn't been looked at, but it's always good to have a consultant.
Dispatch consoles and
Console,
stuff.
right.
Yeah, our radio system is antiquated.
Yeah,
But the
You wouldn't want to
dispatch-
you wouldn't
Yeah.
want to use the existing stuff
Right.
that they
No,
have.
the
good.
console, the
Yeah.
brand new console.
The console.
Yeah, I saw the consoles
Yeah,
yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, the radio equipment should.
Yeah, the
we
radio
should
equipment
have
needs
all
to be
new
new,
stuff.
yeah.
Years old.
The consoles again.
So
Yeah.
what ends up happening is you can purchase all your radios off the state bid list. But you're at the mercy of those vendors to sort of design what your program's going to be for the replacement. In many cases, you never really know exactly if you're getting all the right equipment or not. So a third-party vendor, radio consultant who's not married to Motorola or Kenwood or anybody else, can then come in and say, let's cut through all the baloney. This is what you really need. This is what we recommend. And then you go out and solicit the state. So it ends up, we think it ends up saving you money, and it eliminates a lot of heartache.
The situation that we have
Yeah,
here.
I'm sure you guys get radio vendors that just push.
Yeah, it seems
Yeah.
like I know it happened a lot with the fireside too after 9/11 and stuff. They had all this grant money out there for different stuff. What they're basically doing, it was kind of backed by certain companies, so they're getting pushed into equipment by certain companies. And
Yeah.
there's storerooms all over the state filled with radio equipment that people can't use.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good, Bob.
They really have to have a real good study because of the low spots. I mean,
Yeah.
this has been a terrible problem for the town for a long, long time. You can go to a call and you can't even hear the dispatch in some spots in the Sonnet.
Oh,
Bay Shores?
Yeah.
That's what they were saying.
Yeah, the low
No,
spots.
base
Yeah.
show's bad.
Even down at the center where the town hall is.
Yeah, by the town hall, up on the highway.
Oh, it's
there's
awful.
Places all over in Southern. Can't hear.
So it sounds like it would be really valuable.
Yeah.
It would
Yeah.
massively.
It's awful.
It would really be valuable.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a tall one.
Yeah, it's gonna be a tall tower.
Can we just go back for 1 second? Security, you guys have security in the design. in
Yeah,
your component.
infrastructure, right.
Right.
Not like the purchasing of the equipment or anything, but I think all the design has to coordinate. with-
Yeah, okay. Yeah. So that wouldn't be a consultant as much as it would be a vendor.
A vendor, yeah. And lastly, building commissioning. And if you're not familiar with that, it's a third party that comes in, and what they do is they review the project's plans and specs at the very beginning of the project, and then they're on board through the whole project, and they check the submittals with the equipment that's coming on for basically your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems. Plumbing, not so much usually, but mechanical and electrical. And they're a third set of eyes. We're looking after those things as well, but they're actually engineers that are certified in the startups of your HVAC equipment and your lighting controls that certify that everything that's been installed has been installed per spec, there's no issues with it, and everything's running how it should. So it gives you another set of really confidence that everything has been installed, correctly in terms of your MEPs. Sometimes, when you get, sometimes when you look at the cost analysis of it, it might not be worth it, but we like to get quotes to do it. I don't know what your feelings are on it. Sometimes I feel like it really helps the project, and other times it doesn't seem like it's needed based on the size of the project.
Yeah,
But,
I'm a big proponent of them. I mean, no matter the size of the project, we're still putting in pretty complex systems in these facilities, especially mechanically related. On the projects that I've been working on over the years, commission agent is usually brought on board at the end of schematics, DD
Yeah.
level, to begin getting familiar with them. But, to rely solely on the engineering and the contractors who are installing it, this gives, as Taylor mentioned, another level of assurance that it's actually operating the way you need it to.
Yeah.
And there's many stories out there of, especially with police stations, because you don't have the same support as schools do, where they have, facilities and things of that nature where they can stay on top of things. But once you receive your training, everyone just goes away and you're left with it. So it may not be as expensive because it may be limited, for a project of this nature.
Yeah, that's what we've been doing, because when we go out and get proposals for commissioning agents, we see that a lot of our scope is actually in the
Yeah.
scope they're giving us.
Correct.
I'm sure you guys see that too. So rather than, giving us a commissioning scope for $40,000, pull out all the stuff we're gonna do, we're gonna be worried about the turnover documents and that sort of thing. We can handle that, and give us, one for just looking at mechanical and electrical, and reporting on those throughout the project, and the price comes way down. So we've had great luck with that on a few of our fast projects with WSP. Is one that we like to work with. So we can get a couple different quotes from different vendors.
What are you
but-
talking about? Like how much, money-wise?
In the neighborhood of about 15 to 20,000.
As Taylor mentioned, there are certain responsibilities that the architect has, that the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers have, and that the owner's project manager have, as it relates to this whole process. And the trick is to if you're going to bring a commissioning agent on, you don't want to be paying them for things that are everybody else's
Right.
responsibility.
Right,
So
exactly.
we really, we're a proponent of it as well, but it's a limited, what's called the CX model, limited commissioning, so that you still are getting what all of the different firms are responsible for, and then they're sort of your eyes and ears on top of that. Especially with these complex systems. The old Honeywell thermostat on and off, it doesn't exist any longer. So the controls are extremely complicated, the lighting controls. So having that third set of eyes is
And
proven to
that
be
third
quite
set of
valuable.
eyes comes in right from the beginning?
Yeah.
So they're reviewing as the design is coming in, and if they have a question, like, for example, one of the police stations that we talked about, the HVAC system was not up to standard for the size of the building. They should be telling us that if you guys don't, is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Okay, and then we all discuss, and figure it out from there before we're committed.
As Dana mentioned, they come on very early on in design development, and they will issue comments all the way through during different periods. And they'll actually, we just had we call it CX, we just had a CX kickoff meeting in Wellfleet yesterday. And so we're just in rough frame on the building, and the agent will come out and they take control of that entire process. And it's pretty slick.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with the way they work, so.
I think it can avoid a lot of headaches down the road. It doesn't relieve us of being, responsible architects and engineers, and then you're relying on your contractor as well to be installing it correctly, but this third party, independently of everyone, verifies a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Startup all the way through operations, just make sure everything's sequencing properly,
Not only do you get the regular turnover documents of startup testing and material from the contractor, but you're getting a certification from that third party, and they keep a log throughout the entire project. So day one they come and do a report, and the next day or a few days after they give you the log with any open issues, and they won't move forward to the next step until those issues are closed and they're happy with them. And that happens periodically throughout the project. So it's a nice piece of documentation to have at the end of the project. If anything ever comes up, hey, was this looked at? You have that book to go back to. And they'll work with you, far into the future too, if anything pops up too, so.
Perfect.
As we're going through these items, I think it's important to understand that from today moving forward, we're building your budget.
Yeah.
And you're going to, not only are you going to have your building costs, but we have all of those ancillary costs that are important to consider. And as we build it, we're going to add in a line item for building commissioning. We're going to add in a line item for material testing and all of the other components that are part of the project. And, as we discuss it, and we get down to budget crunch, the owner may decide we don't need this or we don't need that. But it's our job to make sure that you consider everything and what's a reasonable cost for it. And then the decisions and discussions will take place. So, you'll start seeing that populated. And even the first go-around, when you're looking at schematic design or your bubble diagrams, you're gonna also be looking at a soft cost line item for your budget.
Right.
And lastly, that I had on the agenda was my favorite part of every project, and that's utilities. And I'm being sarcastic. And we like to start this early on too. You can't start it too early when you don't have a design, but as far as when we get a schematic design and we start moving into DD, we'll work with CGA to get those notifications out so that our engineers, or CGA's engineers, can really start the notification process to get those in the pipeline as early as possible. Because you'll always find yourself, hopefully not, but waiting on one of those utilities to get to the site. So the sooner that we can get load calculations and information that's going to come from our design team and get that to Eversource and Verizon and the town's water department, so on and so forth, it really helps a smooth transition. So that's something we're going to be creating a line item for those as well, for utility reimbursements, is what they call them. But
We don't have Verizon here, do we?
We have Comcast for phones.
Yeah.
Just in the future.
Yeah.
so you don't use Verizon?
We don't.
We don't.
We use Verizon
We use Verizon for
for
911.
Yeah,
Our actual phone lines
Yeah.
are from Comcast.
you're lucky.
Yeah. Well, we had to. We had all kinds of problems. So.
So, Verizon's moving over to General Dynamics for 911.
Yeah, that's just we got a hold of the now.
The next gen,
coming in.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you going through a transition at your existing facility for next gen? You
Yes.
must be.
Yes.
Have you had any initial meetings with them yet?
I know they've been through. Now, I'm not really involved in that part of it, but I know that it's already, they've come into the building. I know they've been talking to people about when it's supposed to happen. And it's supposed to be in the short term, but they're looking at doing this.
Yeah.
I think it's coming around October.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any way to make it any less complicated. Even if you told them you're going to a new facility, they still have to make accommodations to deal with you now. But
Right.
we're going through the learning curve now. We've had a couple of conference calls, and we have 2 facilities that are going to be switching over. So it may be good just to, we're pretty much going to know exactly what we're going to need for infrastructure. It's not going to change.
Right.
But if you start having those conversations, we'd love to be part of that, so that
Okay.
we can soak it all in.
Yeah. I don't know exactly how far along they are with it, but we can find out for sure.
Sure.
It'll definitely be part of this project.
Right.
And at the same time, we'll talk to each one of those vendors about any energy rebate reimbursements they have.
Yeah, we
programs
are
that-
already on a system, so actually, the school's on it also.
Okay.
So we'll have to, when Jack gives his report, we'll make sure that we get the information because we're already on that.
Okay, good. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of the same people I already work with, which is good.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head.
And are these, I know you have Eversource in town.
Yep,
And National Grid is for gas? I
We don't have
assume?
gas.
we don't have
We
gas.
don't have gas.
No gas.
No. This is Freetown.
No gas, no water.
No.
No sewer.
Not in the middle of town, on the sides of town they have.
Yeah,
it
they
on
have gas
top.
on, yeah.
Each side of town has gas, but that's the center.
Nothing in the middle, okay.
Nope.
All right.
Main fuel source is gonna be just oil.
That was everything I wanted to cover. Yeah, it was really,
Oh, what?
I wanted to get an update from the design team, more or less. The items that I had here were, like Rick said, is we're gonna start building that budget. You know, while they're working on the design, we're gonna start trying to buy out those soft cost items, so we can, you know, get to an ultimate total price on everything,
So the next time we meet, you should have an estimate,
Of,
some of the costs for us.
we can
correct?
give you some plug numbers.
That would be great.
Yeah.
You know, until we progress, you know, we'll need furniture layouts for furniture
Yeah,
and,
but-
you know, so we'll start giving you some idea as to what other communities are paying for these items. But until the design is fairly well along and we can get some solid estimates, it takes time. And
Right.
in a lot of these if it's a state vendor, the state contracts become even more complicated. Where before you could just procure off the state contract, now the state requires you to get multiple quotes off of the state contract. Don't ask
The
me.
point of the,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's the whole point. They've complicated the whole point, so it's a process.
But you do know, I mean, you have the building commissioning between 50 and 20K, and the tower study, you must have an idea of,
Yeah, things like that we can get prices
Right,
on,
okay.
absolutely. I think, you know, a propagation, full radio
Right.
study is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 7,000 to 12,000, depending on the size of the station and, you know, how extensive it's gonna be.
The next big step is programming, size.
Right.
And adjacencies, and site specifics. That's our next step. That's our next step in our journey.
so you keep looking at me because you need that
Till
Topo.
We need the
I was
total.
waiting, I'm sitting there going like this, he's already up to 8, so.
I kind of did my own a little bit, but I needed one from the surveyor. But, and then, we're already on the program, so we've already started that process.
So you met with them yesterday, when's the next time you're meeting with them again?
Well, we actually have a draft of the program right now. We're just going through it and updating the notes from yesterday's meeting. We'll probably schedule something next week. We'd like to meet again and then just reconfirm some things.
Right.
And then start sharing some of the adjacency diagrams, so that way we can get some feedback on that. So I would say we'd probably set something up next week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Maybe we could just get something in the pipeline that's reoccurring
Yeah.
once a week, if that's how, you know, quickly you guys wanna be working and turning things around.
Well, I mean, I think initially, right now, I think it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, just, we may need to, you know, we'll scale that back
Yeah.
every other week, but I think at least, we got a lot of good information yesterday, and you guys had a lot of information, so that gave us a
Oh,
good
yeah.
starting point. So, let's meet next week, and then let's see how we do after that. But yeah, if we want to schedule something out weekly for the next few weeks on that stuff, we can do that. Great.
All right, I just want to introduce everybody to the third selectman, Robbie Bobby. This is Taylor McDonald, Rick
That-
Pomeroy.
that's you.
Yeah.
Okay. Dan Tavares
Nice to
and
meet you, Dan
Andy.
and Andy.
Nice to meet you.
CGA Pomeroy.
Right.
Okay.
I met the gentleman from Pomeroy before. Once OPM was done, they were
That's right.
selected. I came back and then.
And now you're back.
again- Back again.
All right. So we're good. Is 5 too early for you?
It's a little early, yeah.
Okay.
But that, I mean, I can try to make it work. Just
5:30
today,
better?
unfortunately,
No, I know you're,
today just didn't work for me.
5:30 better?
Absolutely.
Can we do 5:30
Yeah.
then? Thank you.
That's fine.
Anybody have anything else they'd like to discuss?
No, I'm good.
Great.
I'll get in touch with you first, all four of you, first thing in the morning, as soon as I get him.
Okay. Yeah, he's been a little tough to round up.
You know, it hasn't been on this subject only. It's from you know, we've been trying to, you know, talk since the beginning, since we first met. He's just very busy.
And I told him he could talk to you.
Yeah,
I'm
so
not sure
I
if he
thought
feels
maybe that
like
was the
maybe
barrier,
that's,
so.
yeah, I thought maybe, I don't know, but I'll talk to him again tomorrow.
Yeah, that would be great.
Lisa,
And-
you, I'm sorry, again.
You want a CAD, I'm assuming.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
In terms of the contract, I just want to make sure, because as I'm going through, when I sent out the draft, it was just this. I just want to make sure that I think there may be some attachments that we have to add to it, like prices. I
The
thought-
last thing that you gave me, I forwarded to Mark Rich.
Okay,
So if he doesn't have everything he needs, he'll let me know.
all right, all right.
But let me just double check with
Okay.
him.
Yeah, that was the same one that was in the RFP, right? That you have?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, except in here it's saying, you know, there's like it's referencing attachment B and attachment A, and I'm like, well, I don't know what that really means, so I want to make sure that we're not missing something that we were supposed to provide
All right.
with this. I think it may relate more to like additional services, like our base scope
Right.
of services
Yeah.
is all laid out in here. So if he needs like hourly rates or, I mean, I would imagine the fee proposal itself should be attachment A, and then you got it all covered.
Yeah.
You know, and then
Yeah.
it's all there, all the information is there.
Double
We
check.
essentially wrote our fee proposal based on the outline in the RFP, with
Correct.
some additional comments that we heard, so.
All
it's
right, I'll
covered.
double check with
Yeah,
him
just
in the
If you
morning.
need anything, just let me know.
Okay,
We could take a look at it tomorrow. We like to see the RFP identified as an attachment as well, so
Yeah.
maybe they did that.
It may, yeah, it may have done that, right. So I just want to make sure that there's nothing,
I haven't heard, so
okay,
you should be all set.
all right.
But you don't want to get something that was signed by the board and then you don't agree with, so.
No, as soon as I get it back from Mark, I'll send it back to you.
Okay.
All right, and then we can make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yeah, it was just something that I noticed that, you know, I just focused on the actual contract, not the attachments
Right.
to the contract, so maybe they're just by reference, you know.
All
It's
right.
no big deal to us, I just want to make sure you guys are comfortable.
No, I want to make sure everybody's comfortable though.
Exactly.
Okay. All right, we're good?
Great.
We're good? Thank you. So I'll just wait to hear from you for our next
When we're
meeting.
breaking ground?
Soon, I hope.
Yeah, we'll send some dates around.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We just got.
Real quick before you guys take over.
Sandwich,
So I was just
yesterday.
gonna
Yeah.
get a quick,
Oh, go ahead.
Big things, you wanna go to New York City?
You wanna?
Michael was saying the
You
same
can go.
thing.
Or do you wanna, do
Start
you
to
wanna?
creep up.
you wanna just go over with me?
I can.
That's fine.
All right.
The GCs.
Quick question while I have you
Go
here.
ahead.
So it's,
Still on, but still
I know it's
within the
now-
budget, but.
we were able to.
Long Pond is now, the ball field over there, is football fields, right?
Yeah, so, unfortunately, what we did there is,
Can we get some
as our
signage
estimates
here
were
for, like,
completed, the
no parking
DD
unless
and then the
you're
CD
attending a
estimate,
function at the football
it was
field?
very
Because
favorable.
there's some concern that
And
people are parking there
so
and
we
walking down to
adjusted
the
our
beach
budget
and
and
circumventing the
increased
whole
our
Newton town
contingency.
sticker
So,
to the
I mean,
beach
it's
park
all
there
from
and
the
walk down
same
the
pool.
beach. So.
Problem is that I
The
think what we're
police
starting
department
to
terror
see
off to me
is,
the other day.
I
I figured I might see you, so I would mention it to you. If you want, I can send it directly to football. Guys, if you want, but
That's the
that's,
biggest driver right now.
take care of that. Appreciate it.
You know,
Thank you,
people
man.
start
Okay.
getting busy, that's
Good
what
seeing you
we're
again.
Yeah, I mean, Sandwich is a big project.
Oh.
It's 3 different buildings, we
So
got
we're
4
gonna
bids.
sign the contract on Monday.
Okay.
with CTA.
Did you get a
Mark-
co-
Mark
Lakeville
Rich
was
is
just
looking
too
it over
bad. I
right
mean,
now. All right.
Do you have a copy with you or no?
Westport.
I
Okay,
do.
can you send me one?
Yeah, I have it.
That's not what
came
came
out
out
a
of
little
it.
bit.
I
Came
sent it
out
to
of it.
Mark. So, all right, so I'll make sure you get it too.
Oh,
And
really?
Where you
I'll
are.
send it to Charlie.
And they were using that as
They
an
had a
example
meeting,
of what they don't want to
CTA
have
had a
happen
meeting
on
with
their
the
road
the
project.
police department yesterday.
It happens,
About
but yeah, that was-
programming, things like that, so they're working towards that.
Almost one
So that's all
1.8
getting
million
Over, yeah. We heard the
settled.
first
They'll have
architect in
another
there,
meeting next week with them, like they
gave
just
him a bad
said.
budget.
They talked about what
feasibility study.
we.
Well, it was all wrapped around the site. There was so
Okay.
so
I
much
wanna make
site
sure
Yeah,
cost.
they
have,
needed a
like,
well that wasn't in their site cost, they needed a cistern
the
for the fire
tie-ins
protection
for
that wasn't in the
water
site
and
cost,
sewer.
so.
Put in, so if it ever comes,
If it ever
Yeah.
comes, then we'll be all ready for it.
might as well put it towards
Site's
the
gonna be-
main road, because the taps.
Been
they're going
unnerving
down
because
Memorial,
people are
but
so
slim,
used
but-
to seeing
No, it's gotta go down
good numbers
Memorial.
coming.
I know, and
Why?
and coming in under,
gotta go to
right,
Bullock,
exactly.
but then-
Middleborough, I think. Who's on
Because it's gonna go down
Middleborough?
Chipaway, it's not gonna go
Oh,
down
if
Chase.
it does go down Chipaway, yeah, down Chipaway, Bullock, and then.
And then
I think
Memorial,
Michael told
so.
me
That makes
That was
sense.
probably
So
the
both
last
water
one
and
that we've
sewer.
heard
That
of.
We
was
talked
way
See you
about
guys.
buy
So
an
I
extra
think we just need to
workspace
plan
because
accordingly, and I'm
Carlton's
just,
not
you know,
really sure if
obviously
he's
I
gonna
don't
have
know
an
what their budget
administrative
is, but they
assistant
have
or
in
if he's
mind
gonna
for
share
a budget
Debbie
what they
again.
think the community can support.
So he might
Okay.
have both,
something
and I
that we
said,
have to
better to
work
put
with.
the office in.
What do you think about
Start off
Swansea?
big and then you work your way down
I
to
like
something more
Swansea.
reasonable.
I do too.
but
If we could get a set of that plans
Luckily,
and then
like
just
the
tweak that
community
plan, wouldn't that
space
save us a
is
little
something that I
time and
think,
headache?
you know,
I thought
it
that
would be
was
not
perfect.
isolated,
Yeah.
but kind of
2
isolated.
floors,
so if it
built in,
shrinks a
same
little
way.
bit, we still have to
Well, they're not
massage
sure
some
about the 2
spaces
floors
around
right
it,
now,
but,
so that's
Yeah.
why they
you
need
know,
the
to go from
So the
topography.
topography, yeah.
thing,
or
so-
something
And
would
what's
be
wrong?
that big of a deal.
No.
Not-
And I think that,
It's the interior
Carlton has
spaces and stuff
Swansea's.
to get all.
Okay, because I can get it if we need it.
No,
That'll be a fun
Carlton-
exercise.
I think Carlton has
You can tell
Swansea's
them,
from
okay,
George.
a
We
facility
talked
that
about
seats 40
busing
is gonna,
because
you know, if you
when the
add,
buses come in
you know,
and the
35
way
seats
the
to it, this is what it's
patrol
gonna
cars
cost
leave
you.
and stuff
Well,
like that,
and then it
so
relates to
we may
parking.
just do Chase
So
Road, but we'll
you're
look at
providing
that
space
later.
for 75 people,
Okay.
Plus, then you need to have
Might
a
wanna put a
parking.
little-
so you do-
And who knows, if you make
They
that
call it a
jump,
drop
it could
lot.
increase your drainage.
Somewhere on site,
Yes,
just to
there's a
clear a little
domino-
area.
there's no
Yeah.
question
Maybe
it's a
there'll be
domino
parking lot
effect.
later
Something
on,
that we have
but
to
trucks can get off the road,
be
get in
fully
there,
aware
and
of,
leave their
but-
stuff there, it'll stay off the road.
Anyway,
Well,
all right.
we're talking
Who's
about
gonna be
now
doing the
about
civil
doing the
for
75
Garcia Gillespie?
seat.
Well, I've only been communicating with
Oh, really?
Chris, so I'm hoping
Well,
that it's Chris,
started
but I
at
can
40,
find out for sure. Who have
I
you been
just-
working with?
Then it
Oh, I
went to
love
50,
Chris.
then
Yeah,
it went to
it's-
60, and
I've
I've
been
known those
all right.
guys for
Yeah.
as long as you
Why don't we
have.
just-
Yeah, and all the projects that I've
Well,
worked on,
with
it's
me,
either been
I said,
Manny, when
leave
Manny was still
75,
working,
and
they
that
were
way
Chris.
if we have
I
to
haven't
take away
really,
something,
I've yet to work
we
with
can
a
take away
different civil
that.
Okay.
engineer.
You worked with
Okay.
Nate?
'Cause, yeah,
Nate?
I
Yes,
did.
Nate,
Yeah.
yes.
Nate's
Nate-
very good.
Nate is good.
50 doesn't
and-
make-
and,
What's this
I
one here?
haven't worked with Nate in a long time.
We haven't had too
but,
many meetings
you know,
to fill
he'll
this
probably
room.
be on the project.
If we know it's gonna be real big, we go to
That's
the
what we've
elementary
been
school.
seeing
That's what I
lately,
said.
is Chris is
If
the
we know
lead,
that we're
Yes.
over
Nate is the
60,
guy.
Is the
we're at
guy.
the elementary.
Exactly.
Really
He'll be
50
doing
Well,
all
okay.
coordination.
That's something we can talk
He's
about.
Well,
very
it
good.
said 60,
Presents
and then,
well,
and I
he's,
said, you know
very
what, we'll leave it
practical.
at that, and we
For,
have to cut it, then we're gonna, then people
mechanical,
can say,
it'll
oh,
probably
okay,
be
you cut
Dominic,
it.
and
Yeah.
then I'm sure he'll have.
Then they're all
But I
talking
can
about
find out,
20 by
you know, I
20
can.
metal
Doesn't make a difference.
Those are all the
Building.
leads that were included in
In the
our
back,
proposal. It
separate
was, you know,
building
Dave,
for,
was
like,
Carlos.
snowmobiles
I
and
know they're all
boats and things that they get in.
Uh,
They
That's
must
that's how they run the
stuff over
business
here.
too. They
Yeah.
have to have their
They said
principals
no.
involved in everything, so.
Well,
Yeah, I
They can
Yeah,
put their
no,
list
that's-
list together, but
Right,
we'll
I
have
that'd be another
constantly
thing that we would get rid of.
recommend them.
Or
Yeah,
Like
Dave-
Dave,
maybe a
Dave
future
Pereira
thing.
is just.
Or
He's
something
great.
that maybe
Oh,
we
he's
utilize
excellent.
space we already
He's
have here, that
excellent.
they've already got these things, so.
Since I've
yeah.
been working with him, he
Because-
uses
We're not
EIT,
demoing this
like
building,
he
so.
just
No, exactly.
hadn't even become an engineer.
So they're
yet.
waiting to
Really?
find
Yeah,
out
and
about,
then It's just kind of amazing how, you
You
know,
know, what's
he took
going on
his
with Ryan?
license and then
Ryan's just low, I don't
administration,
know.
and now he's
Is Ryan doing the,
principal over there,
Ryan
so.
from,
He's a very smart guy.
He's smart.
engineer?
And he's good too.
Who's the
Like,
engineer
he's
doing?
he's good
David
at
Kelly?
communicating
Oh.
and helping clients fully
The
understand.
plan board, we use somebody else. I
Yeah.
thought it was
That's the
Dave.
thing is when
Security
you-
and
David
technology,
Kelly
right?
and,
That's,
um,
which
we
is
use
an
environmental
easy.
plan.
Yeah,
But
I
he does
love,
a good job
I
with
love
it.
having him
Yeah.
at
So
those
I'll
meetings.
call him
It's
tomorrow.
amazing when you,
Yeah, I don't
when you
know.
have one of those coordination meetings and you get an
so
engineer that
a
can't
building
speak
commission-
the layman
commissioner
terms,
to
they're,
do
it's
all of
just,
the,
the bear.
Yeah, Dominic isn't bad, but he's a
Oversight
little
of all
rough
of
around the
that,
edges, I think, when he gives his
Yeah.
presentations, but he's very,
Radiators and things
he
like the
knows his,
electrical, the
he knows his
plumbing.
engineering,
Not
that's
so
the
much the
thing.
plumbing, but
Whereas Eddie Gillespie, I
No,
don't know if
that's
you ever
gonna
worked
be,
with Eddie,
are
but
they
Eddie
gonna
was
provide
smooth.
that? Because I
Yeah,
know that's
Eddie-
what Bob does with them.
You could sell ice
You
to
can
an
ask-
Escalade.
Yeah.
they're gonna
He
do
was
their
just very,
part of
very
it,
good, so.
and they're gonna do their part of it,
Yeah, I had a
but they're-
situation on
those
another
commissions are
project
gonna
the
do
other day where
the oversight of everything.
The architect
Okay.
was looking
Is
for
that
an
gonna be
answer
separate
from
from
a
our group?
competitor.
Or is that just gonna be
Yeah,
part of it?
separate, an independent reviewer.
And he sent it to
So
Dave
just to
Pereira
do-
by mistake.
That's
Yeah.
the 15 to 20.
So it's a
Dave
peer review,
responds back,
basically,
goes,
is
I'm
what
not
it's
sure
gonna be."
you meant to send
They're
this to
both
me.
proponents of
So I
it.
just
That's why I said,
confidentially
how
sent
much
one
does it
back to him and
cost?
said,
Because
I wish.
all these costs are gonna start to add up.
Right.
Good guy.
Well, you
Was
know,
it supposed to go to another three-letter
Come up with
firm?
that number,
Yeah.
it's a hard number.
I mean, the thing is too, you know, you don't really find a firm like that here. where
Well,
we-
the
That
radio.
tower's
I mean,
not
so
working,
you have to go like
or
to
is not
Boston
working
or
appropriately.
Providence.
Yeah.
So
Paying for
they're
it, too.
talking
Yeah.
about it doing a
So,
town-wide
It's nice that they're
study.
just in
These guys
Dartmouth.
are local, they're right over the line. In
That
fact,
drops in
they're
so
so
many
close that
here.
they wouldn't
So
even
that's
have to jump
another
on a highway, they would
7
just go back roads
Right.
to Freetown.
Yeah.
We already have the
They're
energy
on,
system
Fons Corner.
aggregation that we're working with the
All right, this is good, we're
elementary.
very excited.
I gotta
Wanna-
we're gonna
wanna
forward
get
that
moving.
information to them. And then Comcast's phone lines, you already saw
I'll
that
see
by
you later.
Dan.
Thanks,
Thanks, Dan.
Water department,
Take care, Dave.
that's
Good to
really
see
about
you.
it.
Good seeing you, thank you.
Bye. We have a quiet group.
We'll get them more lively.
Thank you. I
They'll
feel
wake
like
up.
I'm talking too much.
Are we too quiet?
No,
No.
everybody's too quiet.
I was
I'm
feeling
like-
that too, and I thought it was me.
No.
I was like, is it something I said? But